one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes from August 16th? If so, how do you wish to proceed on them?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion from Mike, second from Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Guest and open forum. Seeing no one for guest and open forum, we'll move into committee reports. Budget and finance.
Budget and Finance met on the 18th. We went through the standard financials and everything is about as expected. Golf forecast was looking very good. BCC membership update, we are very close to pre-pandemic membership numbers. Past due utilities are up a bit, but similar to prior years. And then we talked about the budget and levy, and that is on the agenda for tonight.
All right. How about Excel Energy Advisory?
Go ahead.
Just pretty much just an update from both sides on a lot from the city on stuff going on, and then from Excel on we do have the community breakfast coming up in September here. They'll be sending out stuff for that shortly. That's probably
We had a big update from the school.
Yep.
All right. How about the Golf Committee?
Golf committee, we met on August 23rd. Everything's going really great. I'll just give you some quick, just fun facts, bullet points that we learned. They're up 3,308 rounds versus this point last year. And overall, we're up a good 282,000 overall. So that's pretty good numbers for that place. So they're doing good over there. They got some fun things coming up, like murder mystery dinners, and so keep watching for that, like especially on the off season.
Okay.
Fun events.
How about joint planning? Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
We just did one CUP for a business at their home for, what was the animal?
Alpacas.
Alpacas, yes. They're doing an educational farm, so they'll just have. How about the police?
Police, we had a staffing update. As you know, we've had a couple of part-time officers have departed, or a couple of officers, I should say. One is part-time. We did have, there was a couple that were on injured, call them injured reserve. So that's kind of where staffing's at right now, but they're not serious type injuries. They're still working through. They're just on like light duty. We had calls for service were up slightly from this point last year. One item of note there is if you remember, like during the pandemic, DUIs shot up tremendously, even though the traffic was down on the volume of traffic was down on the roads, but DUIs, and it wasn't just here, that was all over the place. Those have come down somewhat, so that's good to know. We also had an update on the facilities work group that is ongoing. As you know, the chief's kind of heading that up, so we had a update on that, and we talked about the dangerous dog ordinance, which we will talk about later.
All right. How about Planning Commission?
Planning Commission, there's a public hearing was scheduled, which is going to be continued, which is on the school's CUP for their bonding project. All the data wasn't ready there yet, so that is will be continued to the next meeting, which is in September. We also called for a public hearing on the THC ordinance, the gummy ordinance. So we called for even though that's still in flux, but we're hoping it'll be done by then. So we called for the public hearing at the end of September.
All right. Any other committee reports? All right. We'll move into the public hearing. Proposal to adopt a modified 5-year street reconstruction plan. Mr. Ebensteiner. Is it okay if I open the public meeting and then you give your presentation?
Sure.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it at 5:05.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So as mentioned, I'm here to present have a RCA for a public hearing for proposal of the modified 5-year street reconstruction plan. So a little bit of background, a public hearing was initially held back in March of '21 to adopt the original 5-year reconstruction plan. This was approved, and then also the issuance of the 2021A street reconstruction bonds was authorized. So since then, we've authorized those bonds and gotten into construction. As these projects have been completed, the city has experienced some cost savings from some of those initial estimates. And it's projected that we can provide funding for some additional projects within that street reconstruction plan. So with that, this modified plan would provide the authority to then utilize those bond proceeds on those projects. If they're not included in the plan, we can't use those bond proceeds. But since we have that capacity, we'll pull them in, have this modified plan. And then, as you saw in the attachment, the modified plan, we had brought in just a couple items that were on our long-term plan, but we're able to either move them up or just move them into this plan, kind of change the funding sources on those. So with that, after the public hearing would close, just looking for a resolution, 2265, adopting the modified street reconstruction plan.
All right. Anyone here to address for the public hearing? Seeing no one, I'm going to ask council if they have anything for Mr. Ebensteiner. If not, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we close.
Motion from Becky, second from Rick to close the public hearing. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. And now I'll look for a motion to adopt Resolution 2265.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2265.
I'll second that.
Motion from Robin, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Administrator and staff reports, the 2023 preliminary levies. Mr. Ebensteiner.
Okay, I'm just working on sharing my screen. There we go. All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So yeah, I'm here tonight to present the 2023 preliminary levies and look for an adoption of a resolution and setting the timing for the meeting in December. So with that, I'll jump into the presentation and then circle back at the end. All right, so we have had several executive work sessions with council after the meetings. Several really great work sessions where we've dove into the details. So the presentation tonight, I definitely won't go into a lot of those details. I'll touch on, some of the key assumptions and items that went into the budget. And then just cover that more of a high level, but also here to answer any questions as well. So starting off high level, this chart summarizes the property tax levies based on the proposed preliminary budgets. So with that, the increase, or the total, $9,814,299, looking at a 9.4% increase from last year's levies. Right at about 9.4%. As we are a service-oriented business, really a lot of those significant items that contribute to that increase revolve around employees. As you're aware, we implemented a compensation study in April of 2022. Within these levy items, there is a 4% general wage increase, as well as those step increases that are part of that compensation study, as well as just some placeholders for healthcare. We're in the middle of the renewal process for healthcare, so we currently have programmed in around a 10% increase in healthcare. That once we get those renewals back, we'll continue to incorporate those in as we get to that final levy. And also some increases in workers' compensation. So very much people-focused on a lot of those increases. With that, as we're all aware, utility costs, gasoline, natural gas, electricity, those are really driving, especially, high users up at the community center, we're pushing a lot of electricity and things, so, that's driving some of those increases as well. Touch on the EDA levy, that levy is based on the overall market value, so it's capped at a percentage, so, with a lot of the development that we have going on, we do look to maximize that levy, so, the 240,000 is an estimate based on where we think market values will increase to, but that will be adjusted as we get closer, or as we get those final numbers from the county and as we work towards that final levy this fall. Also note Pebble Creek looking at a 0% levy this year. So as Becky had mentioned, operations up at the golf course are doing very well. We had kept in a small levy last year, see how operations would go, and we have removed that this year. And then the debt service, that's really just that 21A bonds, and then we also have just a small 2010A levy for that. And then on the next slide, I'll touch on the capital levy.
You mentioned workers' comp is up. How much is workers' comp up?
We have it programmed in right now for around 15%. We're still waiting on some of our experience modifiers because it's based on, it's kind of a revolving window. So depending on when some claims come on and some drop off. So once we get
Bunch of claims in the last 12 months or something? 'Cause that's a big increase.
It is, but just premium, rates in general, and then with your experience. So it's a combination of where the market's at and where our specific experience is at as well. We can definitely get into more details, Mike, if you in future meetings and expand on that a little bit more. On the capital levy side, capital levy overall, $3,017,817. So this is an increase. I think it was around 2.6. I had the number in here. I think 2.6 last year. So it's an increase of
400,000.
Yeah, 400,000 approximately from last year. So you can see the largest really drives that public works and streets portion. We went through all, during our executive session meetings, really went through all the details, and really on the CIP side, we are looking at more of a long range where we are budgeting for not necessarily one time year by year, but we are looking at that long-term 5 to 10 year plan, and where we have additional reserves, so when things pop up, they can move up, and other things can maybe get pushed back. So touching here, here's just a recap of the rate side. So, after we set that dollar amount for the levy, then the next portion is looking at that taxable market value and then the overall net tax capacity. So really, as mentioned, the wages and utility inflation, they're really what is driving the 2023 levy budgets. The local tax capacity rate, currently calculating at 43.919. That's down from 44.321. So about a 0.4% decrease. This is based off of, best data we have from the county at this time. We get, preliminary tax capacity numbers, and we model those in and see where they flow. As we progress into the fall here, we'll get some revised numbers on where those final numbers come in and get even a better grasp. The EDA local tax capacity rate calculated at 1.101. That's up slightly from the 1.088, and once again, that's set as a percentage of the overall market value. So our tax capacity currently estimated as an increase of 10.8%, up to 21.8 million. And this year as well, we did see, with residential increasing anywhere from 15 to 20%. We see a lot on the commercial side, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15%. So, within there's a shift in some of that tax base as well. So this chart just wanted to kind of show more of a trend. Anytime you look at data over time, it's always a good evaluation. So here in the yellowish color, there's your tax capacity, the tax levies in blue, and then the tax rate. So you can see our Our tax capacity is trending upward, our tax levy is following, and then that rate has steadily increased over the last 8 years, increasing 34.23, this year up to 43.919. But it's really just a gauge. We are a unique community where we have a larger commercial, some of the larger commercials that drive a lot of that tax base. So as we transition, as our tax base transitions, we'll continue to evaluate this tax rate and provide it as a piece of information as we're making decisions. So anytime you're looking at the tax rate, the question is, how does it affect, a user? We have our residential users as well as our commercial industrial. So I'll start off a little bit on the residential side. So as you can see from this chart, this chart is based off of no market value change with the new rate. So with no value change with the new rate, considering the new rate is decreasing 0.4%, a user would see a decrease. That's not realistic. We've all seen what home values have done, anywhere from that 15, 20 to 25%. So I do have charts on the next page that'll show some of those incremental changes. But for here, maybe if we start off, let's just look at the $300,000 value. There you have the market homestead credit, the $10,200 for a tax capacity of the $2,898. Apply your tax rate, taxes at $1,273 would be a decrease. The item to note is that homestead market value exclusion, that starts at $76,000 in home value, and then you get the full advantage of about a $30,000 homestead credit. And then it goes up to a value of around $413. So as that market value increases, your homestead value or your homestead value exclusion will decrease. So on this first chart on top here, if we did see a 10% increase in that $300,000 home, we'd go from the $300,000 to the $330,000. There your homestead credit decreased from that $10,200 down to the $7,500. So you do have a larger tax capacity that increased from about $2,900 up to $3,200. So more capacity to be taxed. And then you apply the rate, brings you up to the $1,416, around $132 increase to the property taxes.
And that's an annual increase, right?
Yep.
That's not monthly.
Yep, so that'd be an annual increase. So right around that $10 a month for that on a 10% increase in market value. And then on the 20%, very similar, up to $360,000. There your homestead exclusion once again decreases down to $4,800. Your tax capacity increases, and there you'd have the $287 annual tax increase. Here, looking at that residential piece, it's a great question, Rick, on what that constitutes. So here's looking at your annual amount of $1,273. That would have been your, for that mid-range home, $300,000 home, your annual property tax bill at $1,273. Monthly amount of $106. Where does that go? Where do your tax dollars get spent? So of that monthly $106. $51 in the blue, that would go primarily towards the general government, public safety, the public works, maintaining the parks, administration, finance, things like that. Little over $33 would go to capital improvements, so that's improving our streets, parks, everything in that capital improvement, buying equipment. The debt service levy, so that's where we've issued those 2021A bonds. About $11 per month goes to that to repay those over their payback period. Couple special revenue funds, Community Center and Pebble Creek, about $6, and then the joint fire levy as well, right around $4. So monthly amount 106. That gives a snapshot of where those dollars go to.
So really, with the debt service levy, that was, like you said, with the exception of the $35,000. That goes to the old bond. Everything here was for the street projects, which we just expanded a few more there. So really the capital, it's a combination of those two. So it's almost half of it is going to capital projects.
That's a good point.
So.
Yep, because if you didn't have that debt service levy and issuing those bonds, you would need that higher capital levy. So it at least eases the burden to taxpayers over time and those that do use the assets. And then on the commercial side, just to give you a snapshot as well. So here, looked at some of the values. I worked with planning and worked through some of, where are our commercial industrial properties? Where do they slot in for some of the market values? So we do have, a lot of those smaller commercial buildings, 500,000, $1 million. But then we do have some of the bigger, in that 3 to 7 million. So here just gives you a snapshot. Here, you apply both the local tax rate as well as that referendum rate, the EDA rate as well. So here, for example, the $3 million property, applying the rate, an increase of $153 annually with no value change. Looking through the commercial industrial side, just a sample, a lot of the changes we're seeing is in that 10 to 12%. So you do see a 10% increase and a 20% just as a visual there. So, with that $3 million, say going up to 3.3 million with the 10% increase, you do see some bigger changes there, but definitely right in line with those market value changes. I think the story of both the residential and the commercial industrial is the market value changes is what really drove any change in property tax payments. So with that, I can answer any questions or really, next steps, as I'm sure you're all aware, preliminary levy is the max. So this just really sets the table for, this is the maximum we can. There'll be a lot of discussions between now and early December when we do adopt the final levy. So this would set the prelim for the city and the EDA, and then also set the Truth in Taxation meeting for December 6th at 6 p.m.
Do you want to go 6 p.m.? Because we have our meeting starts at 5. Then we'd have to wait until 6?
Yep, it's required. It's required based on the guidance that the meeting has to be at 6 or later. So we'll start the meeting at 5, get through our main agenda, and then we can pause and then do the TNT at 6, and then have a approval of the budget after the public hearing is held. Similar to last year, it was a little bit of a change last year as well, just to confirm that we had it at 6. You may have seen within the packet that I had sent out in the attachments, there also is the meeting verification form that we completed, just as you could see what we submit to the county, as well as there's new TNT guidance with the legislature that's required. So that's the budget data that will supplement the TNT statements that go out this fall as well. So we prepared that data as well, so you could see what that. We're not sure how the county will take that data and incorporate it into the statements, but they actually requested that we do get it in by September 15th, which is earlier than by statute. We're required to have it in by September 30th, but the county was hoping to have a little earlier so they could take that data and put it into the format they were looking for the TNT statements this fall, which will look a little different based on that guidance.
All right. Any questions for Mark? I'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 2264.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2264, setting the proposed property tax levies for 2023.
A second.
Motion.
I think we should close the public hearing first.
That wasn't.
That was,
This one before.
Okay, well, this wasn't a public hearing?
no. Nope. So motion from Robin, second from Rick. All those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, Mr. LaRude.
Mayor and City Council members, items for approval on tonight's agenda include approve the hiring and termination report for community development, public services streets, Pebble Creek Golf Club revised, and the Becker Community Center. Approving Resolution 22-63 establishing the 2023 City Council meeting schedule. Approve a change to the sous chef job description title to assistant kitchen supervisor. Approval of combination massage establishment business license application and a massage therapist license application. Authorize mayor to sign letter of support for Xcel Energy's sale of property. The draft is on the dais. Declare the patch trailer as surplus property and ordering its disposal via public sale or auction. Approve pay request number 1 to Minnesota Paving in the amount of $603,825.70 for the 2022 street improvement project. And approve pay request number 2 to R.L. Larson Excavating, excuse me, in the amount of $254,483.11 for the 2022 County Road 53 street and utility improvement project.
I did notice on the consent agenda, we had a retirement. Bruce Thompson, who's been a longtime employee of ours, and he's retired, so we just wanted to wish him the best of luck in his next chapter of life.
Absolutely.
So, any questions on the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Payment of the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second that?
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Anniversary announcements for the month of September. We have a few. Julie Bleasy, our city clerk, is celebrating 9 years with us. Rhonda Klein is our kitchen supervisor. She's celebrating 3 years with us. Chief Balloon is celebrating 16 years with us.
Gotta do something about that.
15 to go.
15 to go.
Lieutenant Lindblom is celebrating 9 with us.
All right.
And then Sarah Schaefer is our administrative assistant over at Public Works, and she's celebrating her 4th year with us. So congratulations to all those individuals. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion from Mike, second from Robin. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.